Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, Wednesday, July 19th. It's an 8-game main slate in total. So what we'll be doing for those of you new to this video, this live stream, I'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, talking about the weather report for today, looking at those 8 games, seeing if there's any major weather spots for today overall. Going over to FanDuel, talking about my core picks for today. So it's going to be one pitcher, 4 hitters. So these are going to be guys that I like based on past history, hitter versus pitcher matchups, stuff like that. And then a combination of recent history with that as well. And then last but not least, going over to the cheat sheet, the bottom half, and talking about my top GPP teams to stack today. That is up on the YouTube community tab. It's up on Twitter. It's up on Facebook. That is 100% free. So definitely be sure to check that out as we talk through it. And then as well, be sure to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Coach Craig Sport, for more in-depth notes in terms of hitter versus pitchers, whether or not I would consider pitchers in play, a risky play, or avoiding altogether for today's slate in general. That is up Monday through Friday. Small monthly donation over there. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. We had Brian Wu, a pitcher who ultimately ended up being a pretty chalky pitcher yesterday, $8,100. Like the upside that he did have against Minnesota, obviously there was no history there in the past. It was not a good day for him whatsoever. 3.1 innings pitched, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and 3 walks altogether. So just really unfortunate there. Not too many good pitching performances yesterday. A little bit hit or miss there. Like I said, a good day to mix and match pitchers in general. Then we moved down to second baseman Gleyber Torres at $2,800. Got 21.7 points, so he ended up being a hit. He hit a home run. And actually, 3 of our 4 hitters yesterday ended up hitting home runs, so that was pretty productive there. Corey Seager at shortstop, $4,400. Got 25.7 points. He was a hit. Ended up being the 3rd overall shortstop on yesterday's slate. And then Marcell Ozuna was the lone miss at our hitters yesterday, $2,900. Had some pretty good history in the past for Zach Davies. Unfortunately, did not end up working out yesterday as he did go over 4. And then we had Lane Thomas, who was $3,500, hit a home run versus Kyle Hendricks yesterday. He got 18.7 points, so he was a hit as well. A little bit of hit or miss day there in terms of the pitching, but if you mix and match some of these other guys with that, you had some other strong stacks, especially if you got some good exposure to that Arizona and Atlanta game. Probably had a pretty productive day overall. But with that being said, we're going to stop sharing this screen. We'll get over to RotoWire and take a look at that weather report for today. So let me get that pulled up here as we speak. It looks like I'm scrolled down on the page a little bit here. So let me get that back up in sight. So the first game is the Yankees and Angels game. Doesn't look like any chance of weather there. It's going to be a pretty warm game, 90 degrees. Obviously, out in California, it's going to be pretty warm. So the ball should be flying out pretty good there. Do like the Yankees as a potential stack today, which we'll be talking about a little bit more later. Toronto's in the dome, so don't have to worry there. Cincinnati and San Francisco, 20% chance of rain there, which is the least it's been so far this week, so not a major concern there. Out in New York for the Mets and the White Sox game, 24% chance of rain. Doesn't look like anything major there either. We're going to keep moving through it. 17% chance in Atlanta versus the Diamondbacks. Nothing too major there. Chicago looks pretty clear for the Cubs and Nationals game today. And then we're going to keep moving down. Kansas City, 26% chance of rain. Maybe a little bit one to watch today, but shouldn't be any major concern there. And then Seattle's up in the dome. So not too much major weather-wise today. Some small incremental chances of precipitation of rain. So we'll see if that affects anything. If anything majorly changes throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments below. So definitely just make sure you're checking up down there before we get closer to lock. But with that being said, we're going to stop sharing this screen. We'll go over to FanDuel and talk about the core picks that I do have overall for today. So again, that pulled up now. I think we're just going to talk about pitcher real quickly in a nutshell today. I like the 3 high-end guys, the 10,000K plus guys, and I like a lot of the lower end guys today too. So whether it's a Graham Ashcraft, if you think Yarbrough is going to have a pretty good performance against Detroit, you could play him at $5,600. Had a pretty good start prior to the All-Star break. Carlos Rodon's only $7,500. He threw like 88, 89 pitches last time out. So there's some upside there, a little bit of risk with that warm weather out in Los Angeles too as well. But some pretty good cheap options, some pretty good high-end options, and then the middle ground probably is where we're going to be avoiding for the most part today, but a pretty good day to mix and match overall once again. Ultimately ended up on Graham Ashcraft. He's $6,600. He's been pitching better as of late. Still not a guy that's going to get you a ton of strikeouts unless that slider's working really well, and The Giants are a team that does strike out at a good clip, though. So there is a little bit more potential for him today than there would be on other slates. Only averaging about 20 points on the season, $6,600. He's down at that price tag for a reason, but he's been pitching reasonably well as of late. You see the last three starts have been better. All three were quality starts. So there is some upside to be had there. Definitely like the upside in terms of strikeouts against the Giants. He has pretty decent history versus them, although it is pretty limited. He did have 52 and 32 points versus them last season in 2022. Then we're going to move down to second baseman. We got Gleyber Torres here once again, $2,900. Still a little bit too cheap at this point in time, averaging about 10 fantasy points per game. 264 average, 14 home runs, 39 RBIs. Obviously hit a home run yesterday. I know not even last month, but before the All-Star break, we were talking about him. He was kind of on that little bit of home run drought, but he's kind of turned that around as of late. Been hitting really well. A 9-game hitting streak. I believe 5 or 6 of those were multi-hit games too as well. Which he did snap his multi-hit game streak last night, but he still had the home run in that game. Definitely paid off. Going against Chase Silseth today for the Angels. No history versus him in the past, but do like the upside that's there. Silseth, we'll see if he's stretched out or not. Could end up being a lot of the Angels bullpen tonight as well. And we're going to move down once again. We got Austin Riley here at $3,400. Too cheap of a price tag, if I do say so myself. 266 average, 18 home runs, 52 RBIs, 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Had that slow start to the season, kind of turned on a little bit more as of late. A little bit hit or miss lately, but the high-end upside is obviously there. You're looking at a guy that hit 2 home runs yesterday. Had over 60 fantasy points. Do like the upside once again today. He is 0 for 2 in his career versus Ryan Nelson, but I do like Austin Riley and this Braves lineup quite a bit today. Then we're going to keep moving down and talk about George Springer, who is $3,300, averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He has got a 273 average at this point in time, 13 home runs, 41 RBIs. He is going against Yu Darvish today. Yu Darvish, not the greatest this season, if we're being completely honest. ERA is like 4.6, 4.8, somewhere in there. Kind of hard to keep track of between his starts, but we're talking about George Springer a little bit more here. Springer is 6 for 18 with 2 home runs in his career versus Yu Darvish. So some pretty good history there. He's on a modest 7-game hitting streak at this point in time. So definitely do like the upside that he does present today. If you're looking at a potential Blue Jays stack, consider also Brandon Belt, who is 6 for 18 with 2 home runs versus Yu Darvish as well. So those would be the 2 main guys if you're starting a Blue Jays stack, although they ultimately did not end up in my top stacks for today. Then last but not least, in terms of outfield, went with Juan Soto. So the other end of that game, he is $3,700 at this point in time, averaging about 12 fantasy points per game. Another guy that had that pretty slow start to the season. 265 average now, 17 home runs, 54 RBIs. It's been a little bit hit or miss as of late for Juan Soto, but he does have 2 multi-hit games in his last 3 games. He had a home run yesterday. Do like the upside there. He's 1 for 4 in his career versus Jose Berrios with a home run, who is the starting pitcher for Toronto tonight. Obviously, Berrios is a guy that has some pretty good upside, but he also has a pretty low floor at the same time. So there is ways for this Padres team to pay off. Juan Soto would be a good, cheap, I won't even call him cheap because he's not cheap at this point in time, but he could be a little bit more priced down. So Juan Soto is somebody that I would consider as a one-up, especially when we have so many viable lower price pitching options for today's slate overall. But with that being said, if you would ultimately go out with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you'd have $15,100 remaining, just under $3,800 per player. So a lot of room and flexibility to pay up. Could be a slate that you don't have to use all your money, especially if you're paying for one of these cheaper pitchers, like Graham Ashcraft or Ryan Yarborough, even maybe Carlos Rodon is kind of cheap options today. But if you go with the higher end options, there's definitely ways that you can mix and match quite a bit on this 8-game main slate overall. But with that being said, we're going to stop sharing this screen. We'll go over to the YouTube community tab and talk about my cheat sheet and the top GPP teams that I do have to stack for that today. So let me get that brought up here real quickly. Looks like it's loading still at this point in time. If anybody does have any additional questions, feel free to drop them down in the live chat if you're watching live, or in the comments if you are watching on replay. So let me just get this brought up here real quickly, since things are moving a little bit slower this morning. So I do apologize for that. But we have the New York Mets. They are going against Touki Toussaint, who is getting the start for the White Sox today. Not sure exactly how far he's going to pitch into the game. Obviously, a former top prospect. He's been all right this season. Doesn't really have too much upside himself, but do like some of the Mets hitters. There's not like a long history here as much as you'd think there'd be with a former Braves player, but still like the upside that is there in general. I threw Tommy Pham in the cheat sheet. I got Jeff McNeil there, who is 3 for 8 versus him. Obviously, you got Pete Alonso, who could have upside on any given slate. Kind of mix and match some different Mets pieces does make some sense. I think Francisco Lindor was 1 for 2 versus him in his career as well. And then we have the Cincinnati Reds. They're going against Ross Stripling. So not sure what all you're going to get out of Ross Stripling. He did pitch into the 5th inning, which was the most he's done so far this year. Once upon a time, I did like him quite a bit as a pitcher, but at this point in time, his ERA is right around 6. Reds lineup does have some potency to it. This game is in Cincinnati, so that should be a favorable factor for them as well. And then we have the Atlanta Braves. They're going against Kyle Nelson. They hit him pretty hard earlier this season, where he only ended up with 5 fantasy points. I think it was like 3 2/3 innings in that start. Do like the upside of Ryan Nelson just in general. I think I said Kyle Nelson before, so I do apologize for that. Ryan Nelson. But the Braves hitters, some pretty decent history there. Sean Murphy was 2 for 3. Obviously, this is all a very small sample size since they only faced him once this season. And then Marcell Ozuna's got a home run versus him. A couple different options there. Eddie Rosario is 2 for 3, but he's dealing with a hamstring injury at this point in time. So a lot of different ways that you could approach it. I want to get some exposure to Atlantis today, but they're probably going to be pretty popular, obviously, since they went off yesterday as well. And then last but not least, we have the New York Yankees team going against Chase Silseth. For the Angels, he recently got recalled. Not sure exactly how far stretched out he is at this point in time, so you could see a decent amount of that Angels bullpen as well. Should be a pretty favorable matchup for the Yankees hitters today. Like I said, 90-degree weather, ball could be flying out at the stadium down in LA for the Angels as well. But with that being said, it's pretty much what I have for MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream at this point in time. Once again, if anybody does have any additional questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I'll list any other weather updates and starting lineups down there as well, so definitely be sure checking that out as we get closer to lock. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on tonight's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 picks, whether it's someone from my top GPP stacks, or whether it's a completely different player you guys think I missed. Definitely interested in hear what you have to say. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to do so, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we got MLB DFS, we got CFL DFS. That video will be coming out probably this afternoon for the slate coming up this week. CFL has been pretty profitable so far, so if that's something you're interested in or would like to explore checking out, be sure to check that out as well. Also, be sure to look out for the MLB prop of the day, which will be coming out later today as a pinned comment. It will also be up on Facebook and Twitter. Pretty profitable so far on the season for that, since I've been doing that 8-5 record. Also, be sure to get signed up for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, or Bet US if you have not done so already, and it is eligible in your state. All the links are down in the description below, but I will also list that with the prop of the day as well. But with that being said, that's all I really have at this point in time. If you guys enjoyed this video, you enjoyed the content, you found it informative, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you have your notifications turned on so you never miss a beat. And then with that being said, hopefully each and every one of you enjoyed the video once again. Hopefully it helped you in the process of building your lineups. And hopefully each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.